Kristen, can you hear us? Yes,
Can we hear her?
I don't know. You better say something so we can hear you. Let's,
How's that?
okay. That is hard to believe, or appears as though it's working.
Better buy a lot of tickets. I'm just leaving it alone instead of writing. Never on.
Good night.
Oh, we have mine. I think that was me.
Just roll.
Should have done it.
Working.
Devon slide.
The worst. Yeah, no.
Oh, sideways, sideways. You know, we have to talk in this way. So between the next meeting, we make sure she gets the training on how to use the one, like you gave all of us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I definitely remember it sideways.
Are we ready?
We are in 30 seconds.
I'm gonna take that clock with me.
Perfect.
Make it replace it.
Right.
End of day.
We're all ready and call to order the regular city council meeting, March 18th, 2026, 7 p.m. And with that, we join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carol's got her hand up.
Cheryl, are you okay?
Perhaps this precursor.
I think that's the cursor. Oh.
I am okay. I'm here.
I am okay.
Not great, but I'm here.
Better.
All right, can we get a roll call?
Yes. Mayor Smith?
Sorry. Yes, I'm here.
Deborah Adams?
Here.
Aaron Hanson?
Here.
Casey Kinsman?
Here.
Mike Mickelson is absent. Wendy Rainey?
Here.
Kathy Sherman? Here. And Dave Zastro.
Here.
That's form of council.
Approval of the regular agenda, any items you want to change? And then you good with as it stands? Okay, can we voice vote on that? Or
You can do a vote, or you
Good,
can
okay.
say no objection.
if there's no objection, we'll move on. All right, disclosures of conflicts of interest and ex parte communication. And I can read more on that if anyone has any questions. Okay. All right, we'll go into communications by and petitions from visitors. Guest speakers. So we have the after action report for the 2026 active threat response training from the acting chief of police, Cameron Hayden. And then we have CPD Trooper Peter Hyde and Fire Marshal Aaron Sells. If you want to come forward and give us the after action report, please. Needs any more chairs? Bring a chair with you.
I got you.
And thank you for being.
Thank you for having us. So I'm Sergeant Hayden with Cordova Police Department Council, city staff, but thanks for having us tonight. Over the years, the Cordova Police Department has had some luck in bringing outside trainers to Cordova through our former emergency manager, Heather Brannon. We've had the pleasure of hosting the alert training here in Cordova. It's the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training System out of Texas. And we're always looking for new ways to not only increase our capability, but to have trainers come here because of, you know, our small staffing level locally and our inability to get out and attend those trainings. So in that pursuit, we were fortunate enough to have certified trainers here locally that by pure happenstance are now employed locally here in Cordova, which is always a bonus. In January 10th of this year, the Cordova Police Department, in cooperation with the Alaska State Troopers and the Cordova Volunteer Fire Department, put on an active threat response training here locally. It took place at the Cordova Senior High School. And it was a scenario-based training to not only pressure test our current capabilities, but maybe give us things to work on in the future should the need arise. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alaska Wildlife Trooper Peter Hyde, who provided the after action report that you're looking at in your packets.
Good evening. Trooper Peter Hyde, Alaska Wildlife Troopers. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm not good at public speaking off the cuff, so I have something that I prepared for everybody. That way we all can be on the same page. Before I begin, I want to note that my role here tonight is information only. To share observations from training that was conducted. I'm not here to advocate for any policy actions or decisions. In January, Cordova's first responders conducted an active threat response training focused on how our community would respond to a rare but high consequence emergency in a public space. Events like this are uncommon, but when they occur, they unfold quickly and place extraordinary stress on responders and systems. The purpose of this training was to evaluate how our people, our procedures, and our communication systems perform under that kind of stress, not during routine operations, but during worst case conditions. The training involved Alaska State Troopers, Cordova Police Department, dispatch, fire, EMS, and U.S. Forest Service, and local volunteers. We begin with classroom instruction to establish shared expectations and a common operating picture, then moved into scenario-based exercises designed to introduce time pressure, information gaps, and coordination challenges. What we observed was encouraging. Law enforcement responded quickly and decisively. Simulated threats were neutralized without harm to bystanders. Fire and EMS assessed and treated patients once areas were secured. Dispatch identified emergency conditions accurately and maintained structured communications despite heavy call volume. The personnel involved demonstrated professionalism and composure throughout. At the same time, the exercise highlighted several system-level realities that are important to understand. During peak moments of the scenario, call volume exceeded what a single dispatcher could manage, and 2 emergency calls went unanswered. These were simulated emergency calls, not real-life emergency calls, just to be clear. That occurred in a controlled training environment. In a real-world incident, call volume would likely increase dramatically as concerned community members call simultaneously. This reflects the natural limits of system capacity under extreme demand. We also observed how the current process of calling in off-duty responders requires dispatch to contact individuals one at a time manually. In a major event, that manual process adds workload to the exact moment when the call intake and radio traffic are already at a maximum volume. From a law enforcement perspective, we identified an equipment standardization reality. Officers rely on individually obtained protective equipment, which results in variation in configuration and availability. During coordinated responses, consistency matters, not only for protection, but for predictability when working side by side under stress. From a medical response perspective, equipment capability directly affects survivability. Fire and EMS personnel do not have protective equipment designed for operating in areas that have not yet been secured, meaning patient access depends on law enforcement first establishing safety. Additionally, the availability of standardization of individual first aid kits, including bleeding control supplies, impacts how quickly life-saving care can begin. In these types of incidents, severe bleeding is one of the most preventable causes of death, and survival is closely tied to how quickly that bleeding is controlled. Even small reductions in time to care can significantly improve outcomes. The value of this training is not that it uncovered failures. It confirmed that Cordova's responders are capable and committed. It also provided a realistic view of how our systems behave under stress, allowing those realities to be understood in advance rather than discovering during an actual emergency. Overall, The training strengthened coordination, validated core capabilities, and provided clarity on where system limits exist. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes. Please.
I had a couple questions. That, the Axon Live View training, is that through body cams? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I understand.
The live, like the live training, it said, Axon Live View proved to be an invaluable operational resource.
Oh,
So
okay.
what is that?
So Axon Live View is a capability of our body worn cameras.
Okay.
So that our dispatchers here at the station can see in real time what it is that an officer or officers are encountering.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah.
And my other thing was just an observation. I'm extremely disappointed that our that our police officers have to purchase their own safety gear and it's not standardized and provided for them. That's disturbing. That was disturbing to see in here because of budget restraints. Because I would think that that's a consistency issue and how do you know you have what's appropriate?
I do want to make very clear that these are additional. Additional safety items with increased ballistic efficiency. Whereas our standard bulletproof vests that you see us in uniform every day, those are provided
Okay,
by the city. The after action was speaking solely on ballistic plate protection.
okay,
As worn in a plate carrier, something you would see on like a SWAT team or a military team of some sort. Currently, due to budget constraints, officers, should they feel the need that they may encounter something like that and they want that added protection, that is something we would go out on our own and purchase currently.
thank you.
Questions, council members, anything online?
Oh, I did have one more thing. So I know it seems like dispatch would be overwhelmed, you know, in an emergency. Is there any way that community members can be trained to not necessarily be employed, but volunteers be trained that if there is an emergency? Like, I mean, some of us in the community have a lot of dispatch experience through air taxi services and things like that. And I'm wondering if, because we have a budget constraint, if we can't train some of the community members that if there is an emergency, to utilize their help in the dispatch office, should we get into a position where they're not by themselves in there? Is that something that's doable, or is that something that would require too much certification? Wow.
I think it's a good thought in theory, but in practice, I believe that may cause more harm than good.
Yeah,
As there's certain standards and ways of operating that our current dispatchers know inside and out, and they know what they have to do. They have to implement these certain criteria, you know, depending on what the type of call is, and those that do it on a voluntary basis may not be up to speed.
right. Thank you.
That's it. I could, I guess, locally from, I guess, first our acting chief, Hayden, and then from our fire marshal, still, it's no, you're there, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just wanna hear a lesson learned. That's really just, I read this and I heard the debrief and it's all good information. A lesson or two learned. You did this great training. What are you taking away?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say that what I took away in this particular training
Sure.
was that it was very clear to me that the trainings that we've taken previously culminated very, very well here. And everybody knew their role, everybody knew their area of responsibility. Some takeaways, I would say, are aren't necessarily capability driven or single officer constraints. These constraints are dispatch capability. These constraints are the fact that, you know, because of the size of our police force, oftentimes we are responding not from city center police station, but 2 miles away out Whiteshed, where I live, or
From home.
essentially. So we're already behind the curve and we're playing catch up from second one. These are just adaptations that we're gonna have to make in real time. I don't know if there's anything we can really do to address that. I'm sure there are things. But ultimately, with one officer on duty at all times, maybe two. The response is going to be fast paced, chaotic and uncertain.
Good evening. So two things highlighted for me, and the great group of people I was working, in front of and behind. So number one, the critical importance of standardizing the equipment and how it's packed for, mass casualty situations. It's very different than how we operate normally day to day. And when time is of the essence and you're trying to stop the dying, everything needs to be trained on and packed and ready to go in the same fashion for every incident, no matter whether that's an airplane crash, whether that's an active shooter, whatever kind of mass casualty you may come across. And that was highlighted in this numerous times through lots of different opportunities during this training event. The other fact that I want to bring to the attention is it's critical that we keep doing this. It can't be a, hey, we did this once, great, let's talk about it. This needs to be a continued effort by all responding parties. It was great. We're somewhere between like a crawl and a walk. We need to get to a run. So nobody wants to think of the worst case scenario. Nobody wants to think of their kids in the school and that happening. But the reality is if we don't continue to train for it and prepare, then we won't be. So the other big takeaway is there's things all around, and some of the best things we can do to combat the lack of the funding or the lack of human resources is to utilize the resources we have and increase those and their efficiency through training.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic takeaway, and I look forward to that happening. I look forward to seeing more of that, and this to be on par with another triennial airport drill. I know if I just look at where we get volunteers, there's generally a ton of volunteers for that, so if we can offset it in some ways, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you guys for your time, and I know you guys represent your whole organization, so thank you and your organizations that you represent. The time and energy, and of course, everyone in the city of Cordova who volunteered and helped in this training, and it sounds like invaluable training.
The report was excellent.
Yes.
The way it was laid out, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we now have audience comments regarding agenda items, so before everyone rushes up. I do want to call out that the Little League is not on the agenda. So if you want to speak about Little League, that is at the end of the whole meeting, there'll be another audience comment and participation on. So if there is anyone who wants to speak about agenda, please come forward. And just with everything going on, let's try to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Name is Stephen Viking, for the record, -6 Cabin Ridge Road, and I'm here to talk about the Ski Hill lease, which is coming up to expire in August 4th, 2027. It does say here that the lease is was a 55-year lease. It was a 50-year lease with a 5-year extension. There's been a lot of time to think about this and move on it. And now. All of a sudden, this meeting. In the end. Under what would we call it when they had the. Miscellaneous agenda items. This is falling under to remove part of the ski hill lease. And have it redesignated from recreational land. To settlement land. So that the city could potentially sell it, and I understand the situations the city's in for. Income right now. But it's pretty late in the game. When this application is actually due on April 16th, 2026. To all of a sudden come and say that part of our ski hill is now, maybe being turned, and I get the money thing, I totally do. In the past, the city's dealings with public property and the disposal of public property. Hasn't quite been the efficient machine that we'd all like to see. There's other options here that were presented by P and Z. One is to negotiate the lease with the state and continue in leasing these premises, which can be done for $800. Submit the application, and that could be submitted by the city, or it could be submitted by the ski club. There's a lot of talk in this. Few pieces of. Most of it's correspondence between DNR and Amanda Coward. I have a tough time seeing the city really getting into the real estate business. One of the proposals in there was to build this road up here to put buildings like this or yurts. It will cost a fortune to build that road for the city to even get into something like that. Let alone, there is a spot for this kind of business, it's at the base of the ski hill, and there's. The other issue too that you hear come up all the time is potential housing. We're in a housing crisis. We hear that all the time. Well, the housing crisis, in my eyes, is people who are trying to exist paycheck to paycheck. They're not gonna be able to afford, one of these pieces of property. That's gonna be people that have some serious money and probably don't live here, like some of my neighbors already. So. This says on here that this option number 2 would be beneficial to the community. Well, I don't quite see it that way. Right now, I know this isn't the lower 48. We do have a lot of public lands that aren't accessible. But these lands that are accessible and that are set aside for recreation should be an importance, not just to us, but to future generations, because once they're sold, they're sold. And what's happening down south is a lot of the public lands, especially, that are adjacent to nice places, are being bought up by public interest. And once they're bought up, they're never returned to the public. So I'd really urge the council to go with option number 1 or option number 3. Renegotiate our lease with the state and continue leasing the premises, or let the contractor, which is Sheridan Alpine Association, assume the lease and enter into their own lease, as opposed to trying to put together this real estate deal, which, in my opinion, this is a lot too late to just throw this out there in front of the public, not even a month before the application's due.
I appreciate your comment, and thank you.
Can I mention one more thing?
What I would recommend is, we're gonna discuss this, and if you have further comments on it, at the end of the meeting, there'll be another public comment period. And if you have something else you'd like us to address or consider, that would probably be the time to bring it up then. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Any other public comment regarding agenda items? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeremiah Beckett, Cordova resident at 317 First Street. I'm here to comment on agenda 4B regarding the ongoing lawsuit between the city of Cordova and the Cordova Caucus Shard. Want to thank you again for requesting an update from the city on the legal issue. While I was slightly optimistic, council might guide staff to resolve this issue. I was left in a little dismay after the executive session ended and the city staff was laughing. Further dismayed when I had to take vacation time today and spend hours of my time and money to participate in the first deposition. For over 2 years now, the city has done nothing that I'm aware of towards resolving this matter and taking responsibility for staff's extreme negligence and incompetence with managing the travel lift. The city's lack of accountability and action is punishing me and my business unfairly. I get we're a town of tolerance and the city is essentially broke, but my business and my family should not have to continue to suffer due to city employees not doing their job and misrepresenting insurance claims. To be clear, the city's own records prove the city was not properly maintaining the travel lift, failed to properly train operators, failed to abort the operation after a clear mechanical failure, deleted the video evidence, and misrepresented the insurance claim to the insurers. Bottom line, the city breached its duty of care and continues to misrepresent this incident to the community and insurers. Please do what's right, accept responsibility for staff incompetence and negligence, and direct insurance to mediate a fair settlement to get this issue resolved. I've always done my part for the community. I'm asking you once again, please do yours. Thank you.
So, is this on the agenda? It is not. Can we start it from the record, please?
Item 4B is on the agenda and it's in the minutes.
Stand.
So please don't strike it. Read the packet before you attend.
Dear, thank you, excuse me.
Thank you. Thank you. Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Callahan. I'm here in my capacity as the general counsel for the native village of Eak. In front of you this evening is a purchase and sale agreement for approval that would allow NB and the city to enter an agreement to purchase several lots. So we can purchase several lots from the city so we can develop those hopefully into a cultural center. I'm just here to let the council know that our tribal council has approved the PSA in its current form. Thought that would be useful information for you as you consider it tonight. And as you discuss it or consider it, I just want to make myself available in case you have any questions for the native village again tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you for those comments. We can go on to chairpersons and representatives of boards and commissions. Have anything pre-populated in here, so get approval of the consent calendar. With the minutes for Alpha and Bravo.
Okay, yes, I will take the role for the consent calendar. Aaron Hansen,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Nicholson is absent, Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
The consent calendar is approved.
That approved, let's go on to agenda item 5. Resolution 032615, a resolution of.
We just did all that.
Oh, yes, thank you, I see that. All that was approved, thank you. And the appointment.
Really helps the meeting along, doesn't it?
It does, it does,
Hey, Dave, you can-
yes, that is good. And also includes the consent calendar, which was in the approval of minutes. Down to the mayor's report. Anything? Anything you'd like to add? Mayor Smith online to your report?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't, obviously don't have a written report and I don't have that much to report. I can say, it came up a couple weeks ago, the concern about the staffing levels at the DOT maintenance station. And I did talk to Matt Miska, and when I called, Robbie Matson also happened to be there. They do have several positions open. The state, the union is negotiating with the state over salary levels, and so I don't really think that's something that the city can affect. We're not going to be able to tell the state that they should pay Cordova people more than they should pay people somewhere else. The state has a pretty established wage and salary table, I'm sure, just like the city does. Robbie did say that they are contracting with Wilson and I just need to look up some notes here. To fill the gaps temporarily. He thought that the issue was, sorry, I'm having to page through. Partly a matter of the fact that the workforce isn't in Cordova and partly a matter of the city, not the city, the state trying to be competitive in the wages it pays. So there's a couple different factors going on. Yeah. He did also talk about the fact that a couple of those positions have very specific requirements, like a Class A CDL, they have to do drug tests, they have to do background checks for the airports. So it's not just a matter of hiring somebody who's got basic qualifications, they need to be a little bit more experienced. Yeah, 2 of the positions that are open are for the aircraft fire rescue set of qualifications, and 3 are for roads. So that's what I learned just when I was trying to research that issue that came up a couple weeks ago. So he said you could reach out to his boss. I could do that. I could write a letter. Maybe they would use it as part of their union negotiations. I'm not sure, but anyway, that is one issue that that I tried to do a little checking up on. Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I could ask one question, and that are other communities having this similar issues with staffing throughout the state? Or did you get any of that information?
I did not. I don't know. Maybe Robbie would have been able to tell me about that, about Valdez, but I could ask AML, the Alaska Municipal League, what they've heard.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Comments for the mayor, questions? I'll just add in on that, just from my profession, I can tell you that throughout the state at various levels, and one way or another, essentially every airport is hurting. And that's from a DOT staffing perspective. So there may be an opportunity to work with AML to just draft some kind of resolution and support for that negotiation piece of pay and making it truly competitive. And if that's, without going too much into it, but that is a factor. That's a big factor, and that's where people have left, is the high standard and what's required. Oftentimes these individuals can go use their CDL skills somewhere else with and make more money. I think that's just, shouldn't be too big of a secret. So hopefully we can create a unified voice. That is the whole, a big part of what AML is for, is to create a unified voice, and this might be an opportunity. I did want to, I know we're gonna get there, but under correspondence, Mayor Smith, I did want to say thank you for your representation of really the council and really the city of Cordova in speaking to those proposals. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if people have heard, Mike Weber testified because I helped submit a nomination for him as a traditional knowledge speaker, and after hearing his testimony, the person who submitted that particular proposal withdrew it, which I think people considered a huge win for Cordova. So yeah, that I don't know what's happening with the hatchery proposals, but that one other one was withdrawn. So that's good news.
Hopefully encouraging to everyone who's listening and hearing that our voices individually and collectively can make a difference. And it's again, that collective correspondence, that representative correspondence that you sent for Fish, well written and well done. So thank you. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Mayor Smith?
I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, we'll go on to city manager's report.
Okay, Samantha's out of town, so the report that is there in the packet is all that I have at this point. They have been working on it this week. And it's still not raining, so that's a good thing, and they're making progress. I guess I'll just do mine real quick and then I'll let Cheryl take over. So just want to again give finance, cleaning, and Brenda, HR. We are all on the payroll timekeep, the automated timekeep, this pay system, the entire city. It's amazing how much time it is saving and the efficiency, and yeah, there's glitches, but we work through them. We did, Kevin sent intent to apply to Denali, and we got the answer back that we can apply to help with the match for Second Street. So this is a new funding period for that, so that's great news. So we'll keep posted on that. And if nobody has any other questions, I'll let Cheryl talk.
Anything for the city manager? Or written remarks, okay, yeah. That for sure.
Hello, I don't have a lot to add to my report either. Just kind of wanted to touch bases as we are looking at where we ended 2025. It is preliminary. I know I'm on repeat for that, but nothing really surprising in there, I don't believe. We had a lot of discussions about where we were ending 25 during budget topics or discussions, and we have already discussed the forest receipts that came in under budget and state debt reimbursement, which is the school bond debt reimbursement coming in low. So the deficit portion of the general fund shouldn't be a terrible surprise to anybody. I did want to point out that the expenses also came in quite a bit lower. So that's why we're not seeing a $1.3 million overall deficit. We were able to lower our expenses as well, bringing that deficit to around $575,000. As I've been working on getting the investment earnings and pension relief entries in this week, I anticipate that being cut in about half. So probably around a $280,000 deficit instead of that $575,000. And that picture will come into focus a little bit more as we get closer to our audit readiness, which we are doing good in being ready for it this year. I'm feeling really good about the progress that we've made and how smooth things have gone this past year for that. So I guess any questions specific, that have come up?
Questions from council and from the city? Anything online for Cheryl? Guess as we get closer to audit prep and as just said, as this picture becomes a little more clear, are we gonna have some paths forward, how we're gonna make up that deficit, what are we gonna do with that? I mean, I know it's for last year, but at some point it just carries, so we just need to have a conversation about it. I know generally every year, one way or another, we do. Make sure that's on our radar.
So, just to kind of cover that, question or comment, in the end of the 24 audit, our fund balance, I don't remember off the top of my head what it was, but we had grown it and we were really feeling good about that, going from the 130,000 the year prior up to a larger number. I don't remember that number off the top of my head, but this deficit that we end 2025 in will eat into that. So we have taken a step backwards, but that's where that will come from.
I think as the picture gets clearer, I look forward to more of a conversation on that.
Okay.
See all of that in front of us and with more, I guess, factual, more of the clear picture examples too. So, but thank you for I guess even just speaking to those deficits and what we're looking at as more and more information comes in, even from the packets. I appreciate that.
One thing to add, it's not about 2025. Well, I guess in a sense it is, but the forest receipts that we did not receive in 2025 were released, and we will be receiving them either tomorrow or the next day. We had budgeted in 2025, 730,000. We're only receiving 575,000, which interestingly enough is the deficit that we're looking at for last year. So currently.
Well, I look forward to a conversation on that because I know we did not put that in our 2026 budget. So.
Yeah, my mic,
Yeah,
Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Sentence, that's true.
Yeah, Cheryl, just on the enterprise funds, the water enterprise fund in particular, the oil spill response of 104,305. Remind me how that was going to be resolved. The overall deficit, 7921.
I'm getting down there, sorry.
Then we talked about it.
The 104 was for the disposal of the contaminated soil, and we did, I believe we did a budget amendment where we found a way to fund that. I can't recall exactly what that was. But that was the contaminated soil removal or disposal.
Okay, so what was the decision to deal with that?
I don't remember how what the written one came from. Yeah, we can find out.
Yeah,
I'd like
let
that.
it-
Let me
if
know.
you can,
Yeah.
let it
Yeah.
be great.
The time
Put you on the
to get all
spot.
that.
I do know there was a conversation, so that'd be great. And I guess my one question would be, is that the remainder of it, or do we have other things looming for that response that we had?
We are done.
Okay, so that is the final done. Okay.
No.
I know it was looming for a couple of years, so. Good. Moving on to anything else you'd like to add? Your
I'm
report
good.
after that, anything for city manager? Her report, anything online? Okay. Going on to city clerk's report.
I'm just going to tell people who may be listening that the little ad that I put in there was about, the housing accelerator. Is that right? Yes, we've already received one application. Yeah. And the notices have been going out on like the delivery and on Facebook and people are talking about it. I got a phone call also, so hopefully we'll get that filled pretty quickly. And obviously the election certification is in here tonight.
Yep.
We counted the last few ballots today. And I think in front of you is a resolution with the filled in numbers. There was no change. Give the races. And I just wanna thank the election ladies one more time. They did a great job and it was a pretty smooth election overall. I have tons of statistics on elections. If anybody's interested, I can answer questions on that. And then we're in the appeal period for property assessments and the deadline for that is April 1st. So please pay attention to that. Make sure you got your assessment notices in the mail. Quite a few get returned to us with bad addresses. So if you didn't receive it, call the office, send us an email, change the address, but we can also email them to you because we don't want you to not have your assessment notice and not have the ability to appeal if you want to. And that is about it. I'll bring up a few things and pending agenda for dates stuff, but I can answer questions. It's all in my report.
I have a question. When it comes to the assessor. If there's a building permit out there, is that like top their list to go to a site that has a building permit? I know that they would have that list.
Yes,
and
they
just
certainly
check
do.
progress. Okay.
They certainly have all building permits, plus any that have been, even building permits over the last year or
Right.
two, they have like recheck status in our software so that they know to look at it again each fall.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Vice
yes.
Mayor, excuse me. I just have one question for the city clerk. How many positions are on that Cordova Housing Accelerator Committee?
Did we decide 7? 7,
7. Okay, thank you.
is that right? I can't remember, the resolution was at the time, right?
Yeah,
I think you said 7. I think the resolution says 7.
7 to get it going, and if we
7 members.
If we need to go to 5, if that's what we have, and we can just do it. I'm just glad that you're getting contacted on it, there's interest. Okay. All right, moving on to correspondence. Anyone would like to add to correspondence? That brings us to ordinances and resolutions. And before us, as agenda item number 12, we have ordinance 1238, authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with the Native Village DX for lots 19 through 25, block 6, original town site, first reading.
Last one.
Yes.
I move to adopt ordinance 1238, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase sale agreement with the Native Village of Biak for lots 19 through 25, block 6, original town site.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right, it's all numbers, Astro.
Yeah, we have discussed this multiple times. We've had our lawyers and Native Village VX lawyers going over what this agreement would look like, what this purchase sale would look like. Everything is the same, I think, from last time, other than a slight change to what would happen if there were no construction or completion of construction in 15 years. I think that's pretty well, it's all as outlined in page 9 of 16 of the document, so, yeah, I'm gonna support this.
Councilmember, sure.
Yes, to Councilman Zastra's motion, and we have been going over this as it's been presented to us, and it's nice to have the knowledge that the council's approved it as we move it forward, and I'm in favor of it as well after our discussions.
Continue around the table. Member Rainey.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Online, we just have Adam, Councilmember Adams, right?
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Adams. Anything you'd like to add?
I don't have anything to add. We've had long conversations about this, so I'm happy to see it moving forward.
And then I guess for myself, I'll just echo those, thank you for representing Native Village and their council's approval. That actually was gonna be probably my only question where they stand on it, so. Thank you for that, I think this is a good example of a partnership of these two entities in our community. And then with that, Mayor Smith, anything you have to add or want to say about this?
I don't, thank you.
All right, with that, then we'll go on to the votes vote, Susan.
You want to do a roll call or just voice?
I-
Okay, I'll do a roll call.
It's,
So on the first reading of 1238, Wendy Rain,
Yes.
Mike Mickelson is absent, Aaron Hanson,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
yes,
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes,
Dave Zastro.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
moving on to resolution 032613, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, certifying the results of the March 3rd. 2026 City of Cordova general election.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
I move to approve resolution 032613, certifying results of March 3, 2026 regular election.
There's second. Okay, Councilman. Okay, Councilmember Rainey.
I appreciate that we had options,
Thank you.
really all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Sherman.
I was going to say, yes, it was exciting to see so many people running and also, for kind of our midterms, I guess, but anyway, it was good to see everybody get out and vote. And, obviously read and learn about the proposition, so. I'm in favor.
Over here for you, Councilman. Anything you'd like to add on that? Okay. Councilmember Zastro, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, grateful for all the participation to the rank provinces and congratulations to those who assaulted.
And online, Councilmember Adam?
no, I'm just glad to see people came out to vote and happy to see that the proposition passed as well.
Just because you're not in person, Mayor Smith, anything you want to add?
Would just echo comments that have been made already. It was great to have options, and I do encourage people who signed up to run but weren't elected to consider running again because seats always come up. And yeah, same ditto about the ballot proposition.
We have the updated stats, so a total about 429. What do you have? Since you said you have the stats in front of you, what's our
I have
total
some stats.
electoral number?
This year, our total number was 1,965. So the turnout was 21.83%. Which is on the lower end, but we've had, 11%, 12% in other years, so it's not awful. And it's for the past 16 years, the average is like 27.5% turnout. I do think the state is cleaning up the rolls like the whole country is.
Right.
And it does seem like 1965 is a lower number than we've had in a long time, which I think is a more accurate number. I still know that there's ton of people on our rolls that don't live here.
Right.
But in other years, it's been 2,100 or, you know, in the 2000s, so. And then every 3 years, when we have mayor and 3 council members, we usually get a bigger turnout, and that was last year. So,
You have ideas on that one, like, can we make one of the council member seats a 2-year seat just to throw it up? So we don't
I've
have-
considered it for years, I don't think I've ever really brought it up to you guys, because I don't really know how you switch to do it. So,
It can't be more than 3 years,
right,
that's just saying,
so we just make somebody's shorter,
so one would just be a 2-year.
still feel like,
Conversation,
I know, alright.
conversation, just spread the love. The more,
It is, because it's
Election.
harder of a turnover,
Yeah.
if the mayor and 3 all turned over in 1 year, that's a tough following year. Stuff. And the city council.
with that, all I had was thank you for the 429 citizens of Cordova who turned out to vote. Thank you, I think a club will always be, we can do a little better, but thank you for the work who decided to spend their time and that civil service, exercising their civil right. So with that, we'll do a roll call now.
Okay, so to certify the election resolution 32613, Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Simon Saxon, Aaron Hanson,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey. Yes. Motion carries 6-0.
We'll move on to resolution 032614, a resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing an amendment to the fiscal year 26 budget revenues and expenses in the amount of $194,584.
Vice Mayor.
Yes. What is that?
I move to approve resolution 032614, authorizing the amendment to the FY 26 budget in the amount of $194,584.
Second.
Councilmember Sasker.
Yeah, we just found out not too long ago that we do have some outstanding bills when it comes to some repayment of property tax, so that's something we don't have a choice. We worked through our options and there's really no option, so, we definitely need to deal with that. The other one is, actually a real positive. We have now just, well, hopefully we'll authorize funding to go towards a master plan for Parks and Rec so that we can identify some much needed, work on some priority projects, so, I think both are necessary and I'm supporting.
Councilmember Sherman.
Yeah, I can't add much to that except for that I am great support of the master plan. For the rec department, considering the issues that new issues we've had to face. Last year.
Seems like it's been the last 3 years almost. Really been from this. I'm gonna go right online, Councilmember Adams.
Nothing to add.
Okay, Councilmember Rainey.
Nothing.
Okay, Councilmember Rainey too. Okay, and again, Mayor Smith, anything you'd like to add?
I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Alright. So this is clearly put out. Thank you to staff for really putting this all together. It's clear, it's concise, you know what's going on. Appreciated the information on our. Yeah, I mean, I wish we didn't have the information, I wish it wasn't there for our what we owe in tax returns, but the information was clear and the way it was presented was clear. Able for us to ask questions on, so. With that, let's go into a roll call.
On resolution 32614, Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Deborah Adams,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Aaron Hanson.
Yes.
It's absent, motion carries 6-0.
Alright, there being no unfinished business, let's go down to. Agenda item 15 under new and miscellaneous business, the council action on lease renewal with the state of Alaska DNR for lot 2 USS 1765, approximately 209.86 acres. Out EAC recreation area. Yes,
I move to direct city manager to apply to renew the lease of the North recreation area with DNR.
is there a second for that?
Second.
Member Rainey?
Yeah, I think it would be foolish of us to give that up at this point, and it gives us flexibility to utilize that area up there, and Ski Hill is extremely important to the community, so it's kind of, I don't see it as an option to not renew it.
Councilmember Sherman?
No, I agree too that, this is a lease that we need to renew. I would hope that, there would be more discussion if there's going to be designated changes, but can't do anything if the lease is not renewed, so. I'll vote.
Yes, please.
I just want to clarify, and I guess I feel like maybe I have an apology that didn't come across as the way I intended it. There was no intention of running out there and changing that and building houses. We're just trying to look into the future and be a little proactive of like what could happen in the future. And we know if we don't talk about what's out there, we don't know what's out there. And so the first step has to be to get into a lease. And then we have the next, then we have the potential, we don't have to do it, we don't have to purchase it. We don't have to do anything, we got a 55-year lease, work with contract with the ski or any, other potential party. And keep moving forward, but if we don't ever talk about those future kind of things, we just. I'm apologetic for not being clear.
I think we kind of understood that. I do appreciate folks coming in and speaking to the lease at the Ski Hill. My understanding of the way it was written in the packet was this was simply do we renew the lease or not renew the lease? There weren't options inside of that. That wasn't anything I was interested in discussing. At this point, it was just a notice of, we need to renew the lease. The deadline is coming up next month. Let's do this. But I do appreciate audience comments when they come in and talk to us about thought process moving forward. We do need that participation as well.
Nice, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I will just add to that, it's good for clarification and everything, we also appreciate that, and we have revisited too, if I remember, for over time, the leases have been discussed and talked about, and so it's always good to have them in place, especially when it's with the state. And so, to me, that was the most important part, is just getting the lease signed.
Online, Councilmember Adams?
I just thank city manager for that clarification so that we just understand that we're taking the first step and discussions will follow.
Thank you. Councilmember Hanson?
Yeah, I support renewing the lease. Has a lot of value. I agree with all statements.
Councilmember Batchor? I guess for me, it's clarification on the lease needs to move forward, so we have any of these other options, one or multiple of them, is that correct? And that's how I read the information, so I think if that's what I read, it sounds like everyone else did a great job then, that's what was presented. We need to really it was, do we renew the lease or not renew the lease? And I would tend to agree with Councilmember Randy, that why is it not renewing the lease even an option? But it has to be, we have to have the conversation, we have to vote on it. So I look forward to further conversation, and I appreciate there was some very well thought out options in here, of even after the lease, and that's what I really appreciate, is just how we just gotta get creative as we possibly can.
Yes, there would be multiple public meetings about any kind of land
Yes.
change. Like that, it's not something we just get to do.
No, and that's perfect, that's what I was actually gonna highlight before we even went to the final voice vote. Anyone who's out there, is what was in this packet was, these are options. And if we choose to exercise any of those options, we can't do that until we have this lease in place. So we're gonna vote tonight on getting this lease in place. Sounds like probably in the way of affirmative. And in the future, as we start exploring, there'll be further conversations, further opportunities for public comment on what that looks like in exercising one or many or any of these options. That's just kind of generally out there what this process looks like. And with that, I just want, Mayor Smith, if anything you want to add to this or comments on this?
Just that I would have echoed what Councilmember Rainey said about, you know, the value of the ski hill to our community. It doesn't seem like it's an option not to renew it. That would be silly. So, yeah. And thank you for the clarification, Sam.
I think we could probably just do a voice vote on this one.
Okay. So you ready to vote?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, I think that was 6. Okay. Motion carries. Okay.
With that, get all the way down to pending agenda with, as I'm scrolling to it, there's just so much good information in there, so. Grateful for even the public who looked through all the information, such well thought out good information in that agenda item. Pending agenda, here we are. That sound like,
Okay, well,
Susan, you had a few items you wanted to bring up?
and our next regular meeting is on April Fool's Day. And I mean
Joke's
it,
on you.
and I actually mean it.
I hope so, because I'm planning to be
Okay,
here. I don't
April
know if I'll be here the
1st.
next day or the day before.
Next regular meeting, we'll be having a public hearing also, because the second reading of this ordinance. Then April 7th, we have Board of Adjustment.
Yes.
Everybody get those emails, please stay on top of it, but also, well, what I really mean is. Don't be out there visiting with people about any variance requests. Or any planning commission actions of late. And then April 20th is the Board of Equalization. We're all about the boards in April. And then we have a work session scheduled for April 9th at 6 p.m. in here. We have the room. Where we are discussing fee schedule and. All of the fee schedule?
Parks and Recs.
Parks and Recs.
Parks
fee
and
schedule.
Recs, fee schedule, we think their responsibility.
And. I think that's all we have. Well, you know, I'll be bringing that. The housing committee, if we get enough applicants, we'll start appointing people there. The resolution that was in the consent calendar about the trails committee adding a person. If I get letters for that right away, I'll bring that soon to appoint the 7th. Sounds like. There's a million people who wanna be on the trails committee.
Welcome. Well, welcome.
And that's it.
Thanks, Megan.
Yes.
I was just gonna follow up what Kristen talked about, writing a letter to DOT. I guess maybe it doesn't have to be pending agenda, but I think it might behoove us to maybe work with other communities or through AML to push a little bit, because this has been going on forever with and maybe if all the voices from the communities, especially if it's airport related, I mean, maybe it's just that, even that focus might make headway with the state. And we've only got a little bit of time while they're still in session. That message to them.
I would definitely agree and second that, and whatever I can do to help with that, so. Other pending agenda items, things, we have, I'm trying to look through some information on CIP list now that you're back with the CIP list, priority list. Am I missing something? I know. Pushed something, because you were gone, okay. Very
Yeah.
out of sorts.
Infrastructure priority,
Yes.
they keep changing.
Well, I know, I think that's all the more reason that we need to keep talking about them. If, can we get maybe updates on where we're at on our matches? Do we have a match for White Shed? I know we talk about Second Street match all the time.
We don't have any more
Okay.
match for White Shed,
Okay.
we have a 536, 86. Cheryl, for Second Street, is it 36?
Yes.
Yes, 536 increase.
With the news that we can apply it in all in for that,
Yes.
for that match,
Yes.
for a portion of it, okay.
We'll apply for all.
Great.
We'll see what we get.
Perfect.
Um,
I appreciate that, we all appreciate that.
yeah, we continue to look around to see what else is out there. And that is the only matches that we have that I can think of right now. That's our biggest grant coming up.
And then at next council meeting, and I know we're pending agenda, if we can get, what's our next step for the fair fence loan approval? We just voted it. What does that look like? I'm not expecting anything right now, but if we can get, so the community knows, what's our next steps on that? Anything else we want to see next for our April Fool's Day meeting? Nothing else, now is the time. So many of you been here, we just need to do this more, we need to intentionally leave stuff off the agenda. So we have an audience full of people all night long with us, hanging out, we get to see you. Audience participation, you have anything you want to talk about, especially Little League, come on up. And with that, please sit down, but we did just discuss, we're gonna have a work session on the 9th to just, sounds like, discuss a portion of the Little League fee schedule that'll be discussed on the 9th of April.
Oh, the 9th.
I just wanna make sure everyone knows that as you're coming up.
Yep, I'm here for Little League.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time. My name's Sherman. I'm the father to two enthusiastic baseball players. And I'm here to urge you to include a request that the Cordova Little League MOU be added to the April 1st agenda. And I also want to express my support for the MOU and continued partnership between the city and Cordova Little League. This Little League is happening whether we want it to or not. It's happening right now. And if we wait till April 9th, that really puts Little League in a crunch. This is a volunteer run organization. It's not, and I know you're all volunteers on the council. This is what makes Cordova special. It's a ton of work to do this. I've been a coach. My wife's been a coach. Susie is on the Cordova Little League board. We're passionate about this, and it's pushed into the future to think about on the 9th and then maybe take action later in the month, that we're already past our sign up dates. So the Little League needs to know how much they need to charge the families. So regardless of your choices, it's kind of urgent. And I know that's on me for not keeping track of this, but this is not a big part of my life in the winter. And then in the spring, it's a huge part of my life. So that's where I'm coming from, and I want to thank you. I also want to give a shout out to Parks and Rec, because I know there's a lot of negativity. I think they do an incredible job. My kids participate in many of the sports and sports clinics they put on. So this is in no way to be negative or mean. I just want to stress that we are in a time crunch right now, because this is going to happen soon. So the 9th is already too late. I think it needs to be on the agenda for the April Fool's Day meeting. And I just wanted to point out that Cordova Little League is a very egalitarian sport. It's an incredibly expensive sport. Outfitting 4 to 16-year-olds with bats, and then like nobody wants to buy a catcher's mitt or like catcher's protective gear. And the Little League here is very egalitarian. If you pay your dues up front, your kid gets that stuff. If we have to start redirecting money to pay for a lot of field dues and stuff, it will be harder to provide things to play the sport. And that just look it up online, and that's not cheap, and you need like multiple sets of them. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Come on up.
I'm Brian Wilder, dispatch supervisor, and I just wanted to follow up on a couple of items with that after action report. In dispatch, I think everybody did a great job. I appreciate all of your time for being here, and thank you for and Sergeant Hayden and Mr. Sales back there for putting on that training. It was really beneficial. I was also a part of that alert training when I first started working for the department. So this is really my third big integrated response training as a dispatcher. And to answer, just go a little further on your question about the Axon body cams. Those cameras not only allow dispatch to keep our officers safe and see what's happening, but if our radio communications go down, which happens, there's dead zones and places like that, we can speak to them over the Axon body cams. It is a great thing, and it's a new piece of technology we've recently adopted, and I am all for trying to improve our communications and our ability to respond, not only to the active threats and the uncommon responses, but for common medical emergencies. One of those things that we could help to bridge that gap in service now is E911. I've been looking at a few different systems and had a couple of demonstrations already for a couple of those systems that would allow us to get the number identification and location upon the call. There's lots of other technology that will come with these systems. Text to 911, we can receive texts, automatic translation for languages. And I really think that would be extremely helpful on a day-to-day basis. It would help to identify the staffing issues. I don't know if you're aware, but dispatchers are also corrections officers, and so there's a liability on us to be monitoring those inmates when there's not an officer in the building. Actually at all times, even when there is an officer, but if an officer's not there and there's a medical emergency in our jail, it's our job to go in and make sure that they get the help that they need. That takes us away from the 911 desk, and if an emergency happens at the same time and somebody's having a heart attack, but I'm downstairs handling an inmate and there's one person there, having the most advantageous technology to handle incoming calls is good. And so I personally think that a corrections person and a dispatcher having two people on would really would be able to help that and increase the call volume and getting people into the station right away to handle something like that would be made easier if there were two people there already. And make sure that the city doesn't have that increased liability that comes with spreading the positions thin, because corrections and dispatch really are two different jobs. So with that being said, like I said, I've done some work on getting E911 systems and making sure that they're all ready. They've completed the GIS mapping and addressing. And one of the things that would help to maintain and further, make sure that into the future, thinking about the future, is the E911 surcharge. And I'd like to, address, in the near future, putting forward a resolution to re-implement that surcharge, so we have the money to maintain the systems that we acquire. I've also submitted a letter of interest to the Rural Health Transformation Program as well, for a Cordova Public Safety Dispatch Modernization Initiative, and that would include a E911 system, new radio consoles, and workstations as well. I would address cable management, dust control, having two separate dispatch consoles with a sound barrier in the middle, and utilizing all that new technology that's been out there for a long time now. We've been discussing E911 from what I've read in the binders since about 2008. It's really, I feel, important to move forward with trying to get that in and put it into the budget and make sure that it's something that's addressed, because that is really for the good of all of the community. Anytime there's a medical emergency, and I know Cordova is a small town and everybody's supposed to know where everybody lives. But we have new ambulance drivers that volunteer, they might not know where it is. And right now, we don't have, if a call comes in and you see a number and you hear a conflict and they hang up, but you didn't get where they were, we can't do anything. And with the capabilities that are out there, we would be able to respond to those dropped calls or people in need, or if a person can't talk. And so for the better of the community, I would really encourage everybody to think about getting that newer, more up-to-date technology so we can serve the community better. And all of that was identified partially by the after action report that we got from Trooper Hyde after doing this training. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Maya Vina, and I serve as a coach, a volunteer, and the vice president of Cordova Little League Baseball. And I am speaking tonight regarding the pending agenda item of Little League. And I'm here to respectfully ask that the proposed MOU between the city of Cordova and Cordova Little League be added to your April 1st meeting agenda. This references the MOU sent in an email from our league president, Dave Reggiani, to each of you after the last city council meeting. I hope you've all had a chance to look at that. This MOU reflects a long-standing partnership between the city and our volunteer-driven program, and it helps provide clarity and stability as we plan for the upcoming season for future years. And as stated before, the season registration opens the 1st of April, and so it'd be great to have it resolved by that point. I also want to express my strong support for the MOU. Our league depends on this partnership to provide a positive, structured, and accessible baseball experience for the youth in our community. Thank you so much for your time and for your consideration.
Thank you. Audience participation. Or else just wanted to hang out with us. This is cool. There we go. Good. Thank you.
Just got a couple more things.
Please.
I appreciate you guys clarifying that, and just from what was in here, what was said is a little more clear now. A couple things I do want to point out as far as, everybody's trying to find creative ways to make some money for the city, and that's why we're at this point. And I would like to point out that, right across the street from right here is the beginning of all this property that wraps around the base of the ski hill and is kind of on the upper end of Davis Avenue. It goes around to the highway. This is already, owned by people, and the reason it's not being developed is because they're having obstacles just to get access there. Some of these lots that are on the rim up here could easily be, hooked up and, you know, houses could be built. If there were a creative way to, you know, letting these people have access to their property as opposed to. As it is now, they would have, and I get it, you know, you'd have to build a road. Down below, kind of across from the towels to come around on that hillside. I see a lot of. Opportunities in town. That may seem like obstacles. And, you know, something like this just goes. Way out of the way of the scope of, you know, what the city can afford to do and what can we actually do with what we have, you know, and that's there. You know, like these, the thought of having like, you know, putting that road up there and going up here and developing it for like, you know, shelters to rent, like for personal, you know, there's something there and. Like I would put that more towards something that was around the base of the ski hill, where there is, you know, already sewer, there's already water, there's already electricity, you're not creating this whole other infrastructure. And that goes the same with also these properties that wrap around the base of the ski hill. We already have a water tank there, you know, those utilities, the infrastructure is kind of stubbed there. Those are some kind of avenues that I've looked and said, man, why isn't this being done, you know, and I hear from the well, they won't let me go through the parking lot of the ski hill. And you have this great piece of property, but you can't, you know, you'd have to build a road that's 3/4 of a mile long. And the other thing about that, this property over here in particular, compared to something like this is a lot of muskeg. This is all rock. I mean, you can really develop on property like that. Other kind of things, I don't know how, there's always a lot I'd like to get off my mind at one of these kind of things, but you know, I appreciate all your guys' volunteer work. The problem I see continuously happening with the city, and this is just one example. This bottom piece of property down here by AT&T and GCI has now gone back on the market as, you know, to be disposed of. And I totally agree with that. I totally get it. However, about 15 years ago, that property was sold to the city. The city's paid a lot of money for that property so that they could, the reason it was sold was because the road went through the easement. Through the property, the easement went through the property. So we bought it. And now we're gonna turn around and sell it without fixing it, or why did we even buy it? And what this is you get people come in and they work and they do, everybody's got their own ideas and they're good, but then you get a whole other, you know, group of people, so there's certain nuances and ideas that get lost and it's just very insufficient. Really, like I look at that property down there and well, wait a minute, we just bought it. Now we're trying to sell it again without making any improvements. It's just kind of goofy and that's why I'm really hesitant for the city to, you know, take this more of a stand and trying to be a real estate developer. Especially when we're dealing with, you know, public lands that do have lots of trails. There's 2 historic trails on these lands, plus an old historic cabin. Well, you know, there's things there that, you know, just gonna go up there and make a mess. That's what's gonna happen. A bunch of rich people are gonna own that property. And when that happens, we all know what happens around the world. Look at places like Hawaii or Boulder, Colorado. Even in where I live, you know, right now, I've got rich neighbors. They don't live there. They pay their taxes, which is, you know, there's something to be said for that. Other thing, lastly, and then I'll get out of you guys' hair, and I appreciate this time to let me talk, is the ski club, which I'm not on the board, I don't work there, I'm not anything, but I am here to speak out for them and to say that, you know, that volunteer board, just like you guys are a volunteer board, has done a tremendous amount of work over the years, and there seems to be some bumpy spots in the road with the city and the ski club. I think it's probably always gonna be that way. And I'd encourage, everybody to get along and move forward. And, but the one thing that got me in this one letter was that, it says, this ski area is subsidized heavily by the city. The city used to account for about a third of the ski hills budget. Over the years, the board has put a lot of time and effort into securing the lease sites or the cell services that are at the top of the ski hill. And what happened was that the city ultimately gets that money. Now that money is entitled to the ski hill according to the state, but the city has to get it because they lease the property. So the city takes that money and they have what they call pass-through funds. So those funds, the funds that the ski club has negotiated with the cell towers, the communication folks, that money is then given to the city, and then the city, when you look at the city budget, a large portion of that money is considered money for the ski hill from the city. When that's not completely the case, I would call that kind of a half truth. So I just want people to realize that when people say, well, the city gives us, yes, they do. And this ski club has, over the years, taken up and paid for a lot more things, and now the pass-through funds are considered part of the budget. So when you look at that budget figure, it is important to consider that a large portion of that is pass-through funds that is generated through the cell services that is intended for the club. Anyway, I just wanted to make that clear because sometimes when you look at the budget, it doesn't give that any justice. And I just wanted to say that for the club and, the amount of work that it actually took to negotiate those deals and get that in place, because before, it was kind of turning into a free for all. So the amount of the work that the ski club does to actually keep that hill running.
Yes.
For our.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No worries, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate your time, and I could go on about all this for.
I appreciate
way too
your
long,
comments,
so,
Steve,
anyway,
and it sounds like there's
thank you
probably a
very much.
board or a commission you should be a part of.
No,
You're very
no,
passionate. You're very passionate, so.
Thanks, Steve. My name is Becky Niles, 534th Street. I'm have a kid in baseball, so I'm here to speak for that. I hope you guys can strongly consider putting this MOU on the April 1st meeting. I'm here to read a letter from Bill Howard. Both Bill and Dave cannot be here. Thank you for your service. I addressed you a couple weeks ago about my feelings on the fee schedule that Parks and Rec has implemented on the ball fields and snack shack. As I've had time to ponder this move, a few questions have arisen. Does Park and Rec have any plans for build upgrades or basic maintenance? It seems Cordova Little League is being targeted, as in whom else has used these fields 10 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week for 2 months of the year. Parks and Rec, as far as I can recall, has never sponsored an event there since Jeff Hawley left over 20 years ago and has shown no interest. Cordova Little League and Friends have invested upwards of $400,000 plus untold volunteer hours of blood, sweat, and tears on these fields, with plans and dreams to do much more. Parks and Rec right now are way over their heads in time and funding with what the pool project and speeders cabin. And trust me, the money they would get from these fees would not be a drop in the bucket for the upgrades and maintenance needed to keep these fields playable. In conclusion, why tax 4 to 16-year-olds? And then disenfranchise the 100 or more volunteers that have been making this work. Let Little League be an active partner, as they have been. To be blunt, I believe this is a classic case of government overreach where the outcome will be far less desirable for all parties. Thank you again for your time and patience. Bill Howard, 165 EF Drive. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can you guys, stop talking back there? You are taking away from people who are, oh, speaking, thank you.
Other audience participations. We'll move see from here. Now we've moved pending agenda. There's a lot of comments about wanting something on the next meeting. So I don't know how to proceed it. Someone wanted to move something forward for a pending agenda or move something to the
I don't.
agenda. We bring it forward.
We don't even have an item on that ready for that meeting, do we?
I mean, what do you wanna put on?
I just wanna know what the process is as we
Oh.
move forward. If no one wants to move anything forward onto that agenda, then.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I know in the previous meeting, we understand that an MOU could take time, which we don't have. So moving basically in kind for this year. An action item to vote that we basically give them in kind and don't charge them for the fees that would approve now based off the new fee schedule that was implemented. And then continue to work on the MOU.
So you're asking for that item?
I would second that. I think there should be an agenda item on the April 1st meeting that addresses the issue, and yes, it means everybody should probably pay attention when we do budget, but we talked about trying to develop this MOU, and we can at least discuss. Well, I might be here. I think it's important to discuss it and to, not postpone it and not ruin the entire season for the Little League. So whatever needs to be addressed immediately so that Little League can move forward, I think would be the highest point for the agenda item.
Chris is gonna be.
Mayor Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to convey that when I talked with the city manager about this after our last meeting, it seemed pretty clear to me that a work session would really be valuable, and I think there's a lot more information coming from the city that we haven't heard yet, and I think without that information, without that presentation, without the time to talk through it and for people to absorb it, talking about an MOU is a little premature, is my opinion. And I think we did, I think one of the reasons we waited till the 9th was because Samantha's gonna be out of town, or Samantha Haggerty Schneider, but maybe you can refresh my memory, Sam, but I know there was a reason why we landed on the 9th. And I don't know that 8 more days is gonna make a huge amount of difference. I know people are anxious to get a resolution to this issue. I'm not trying to be dismissive of that, but I also think this is a decision that needs to be made with full consideration of the information. You know, what does it cost the city to maintain that field? What has Little League put into it, and all of the different factors that go into this decision. So I really would encourage people to give it due process rather than try to make something happen because the season is coming.
Yes.
I think the concern right now is for this season. So if we could let Little League know that I, for one, would like to not see a fee imposed on them for this season. And then have the time to work through an MOU that makes sure that both sides are covered. Their timeline is based on this season starting, so, and their concern is that we're gonna have this discussion and then they're gonna have already started their fees and their schedule, and they're gonna have to add on more fees due to the fee schedule, but my point in the last meeting was that I was under the assumption that there was still an agreement with Little League when we went through this fee schedule, and that's on me for not clarifying that. I did miss that, and I do not wanna see them be charged. And would like to see another arrangement worked out, so I think if we could on April 1st. Let them know that this year, we're working on this and it's status quo, I think that's what their timeline concern is, and then we have time to work on the MOU, as long as we can let them. Not have to deal with this season, and then we can move forward with it.
Westner.
Yes.
I think, more in line with what our mayor just said, I think there's a lot of information we don't have, and I would feel would not be fair to make a decision by the first without knowing all the particulars. I know for me, I was very unaware of the league and all the particulars about their involvement and volunteer time and over the years, all the work they've done. I mean, on periphery, I certainly understood, but there's a lot of details there. And I don't want to feel pressure to make a decision by the first without having all of the information the staff plans provide and everything we can learn from a well-organized work session.
Your points on this? I'm seeing. I haven't seen anything move forward, necessary or seconded even.
So can I move to create an action item on the April 1st to vote to remove fee for this year?
I would say.
That need to be in the form of resolution. Thank you. It's not quite an ordinance, would it? That would be an ordinance.
Just not to the fee schedule.
Adjustment to the fees.
Well, so.
And I don't even know that it would be.
All. Parks and Rec fees,
So,
or we just.
so very specifically, you're talking about Little League exclusively saying that in the 2026 year, their fee schedule from Parks and Rec is waived pending a future MOU.
We could adjust the
Okay.
fee schedule if we are not gonna charge for free.
Okay.
Just the start period of the fee schedule that you're referring, I guess,
Well, the fee schedule now is,
right, it's in place.
yes, and it's this much for fields, this much for a nonprofit. We could adjust that. Or, I mean. I guess my biggest concern is that we're creating a rolling ball. The next group's gonna come in, and we do the same thing, so. If we adjust the fields are left, or we adjust the fee schedule across the board. I don't know.
For right now, let's keep it for Little League. I think that's what was brought forward. It sounds like that's the intent, is to bring forward just for Little League pending. What comes from our April 9th meeting, and from April 9th, and we can move forward with MOU and what that looks.
Move forward with a solution, I mean, it doesn't have to be.
But can we say that the solution will come out of our April 9th?
Direction for a solution.
Yes. Until that point, what was presented for I'm guessing a resolution, that's amendment to the fee schedule or resolution
Yeah.
is what was
What else?
presented.
I don't
I mean,
know.
how else would you do it?
Just waiving the fees for the 26.
Didn't she already tell them that? Didn't Samantha already tell them that?
She put the fees on hold.
Yeah, we just
So
want
it
to
was
be.
the last meeting.
Yes, the
And-
fees are on hold.
Okay, so then they're good. Why
And
didn't you do the whole thing?
I think it's fair to say that it's on hold while they're trying to collect fees for this schedule. They want to know what are they collecting. If we say it's on hold, then that could come out May
So basically, no fees for 26.
for 26 for the Little League. That's what's being presented
Which is-
for us to vote on for on April 1st. Is there gonna be fees or no fees?
Remove it from fields and from the snack shack. Don't call it Little League. That is gonna put us in a bad place with every other nonprofit. No,
Oh, we can figure it out.
whatever.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Thanks for the conversation, everyone. Yeah, thanks for your patience, staff. Thank you for your patience, community. We'll get there, we'll get there. With that, council comments, and I will start online with Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. A couple things. One, thanks staff again for a very thorough packet and appreciate the time staff gives me when I come in to ask questions. I'm pleased with the election and all the work that went into the ballot proposition education for the community. I think that really made a difference in how it was perceived by the community. And then a real heartfelt thank you to Councilman Sherman, as I know this is your last meeting. I've admired your commitment and your calm and your thoughtfulness in serving Cordova, and I'm going to be calling you for guidance in the future. So thank you very much, Kathy.
With that, we'll come over to Councilmember Hanson.
Thank you to staff for all your time and efforts. Very back it, appreciate the community for showing up. And as far as the Little League, I have 2 children who are actively there and soon to be a third, so that is where we spend a lot our weeks, our evenings through it all. And it is very important. It's very important for the children. It's very important for everybody that's involved. I understand that the city has to pay for the upkeep that isn't seen. It is a burden, but I have also been a huge advocate of to not take the money, to not try and get the money from the kids. The youth sports and the activities within this community, yes, they have a cost. But if we're gonna subsidize or waive fees, I believe that the youth is where it should be. And I truly believe it's very important for their development. And through the whole stage, from the very beginning to the end. And I am a large supporter of it. I think it's, yeah, very important, and I appreciate everybody's consideration and thoughts. And also your opinions. Thank you.
Jump around, council members Astro. Oh, you passed with you.
Good lead for that.
That's really good, love that, around your room. You're live. You're live. You're live.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, Cheryl, for the budget update. It's fantastic. We don't see those numbers and all the work that you're doing with tracking all those numbers. It's not an easy job. Thank council. enjoy working with a group of people, very conscientious folks, and thank you for all the participation from our community. It's fantastic seeing bodies out there. Also, thank you to Councilmember Sherman. I definitely think of you as a mentor, so I've learned a lot from you, and it's been you've got many more responsibilities coming up. So, but this was the easy job. You got a much harder job of doing now. And congratulations again to those who participated in running for offices, and certainly congratulations to those who were seated. Kind of a side note, we're gonna be talking about our equipment operators, both with the city and with the state. I just want to say over the last few days with the snow we finally got, our equipment operators did a great job in clearing the multiple bits of snow flurries we've gotten over the past week, particularly with the state. I was mentioning this to our city manager, the Power Creek Road got filed yesterday, and the DOT operator out there, which I think was one DOT operator, is a very talented person. He is amazing behind that stick, did a beautiful job out there. So we've got some talented people, we need more, but the ones we have are incredibly capable. Thank you.
Councilman Ray.
I'd like to thank the EMS for the report and the training that they do. The training, I feel, is extremely important. You know, the more we train, the more comfortable we are when we have an emergency. It's not a matter of if we have an emergency, it's a matter of when we have an emergency, and I think it's important that we have a well-trained department that we are confident in, and I'm very confident in the department that we currently have. Thanks to Kathy. You've been a close friend to me most of my adult life, and it's been a pleasure to sit at the table with you. I'll be coming over for coffee with questions. Staff, I know you're frustrated with me on a regular basis, but I'm trying, and I miss things, and I'm sorry, but I do have some strong opinions moving forward. You know, we need to be able to keep people in this community, and one way we can keep people in this community is through Parks and Rec and activities. The Little League, the Ice Storm Swim Team, and the Ski Hill are 3 opportunities for us to have partnerships instead of throwing a cost on the table. We partner with those organizations, and we share the maintenance, and we share the services, and it's a way for us to continue to have those activities affordable in this community. The answer is not always cash on the table. There's ways to get it done, and I would like to see us look at those 3 entities and come up with some working partnerships so that the city can feel confident about their facilities, and the community can feel able to participate in usage with them. I know we just started the housing committee or workforce. I'm excited about that, to focus on blighted properties in town. But I think we also need to take a look to the community for, talking about how we can get some money into this community with grants for our infrastructure. We're gonna need a new pool. We're going to need a new high school. We're going to need, and we do need, a new fire department. This town is heavy nonprofit, and there's a lot of very talented grant writers that work for those nonprofits. And I think if the city could get together with the community and get a working group looking at ways to bring income in and be able to help the city secure those grants moving forward, it's another way to look at getting some infrastructure money and helping the city out. But and I'm willing to do more work in the packet and try not to frustrate staff by missing things like that as we move forward with the budget. But I'm a lodge manager. Money is not my forte. So when we do miss things, I appreciate the opportunity to come back in, have the community input, look at things again, and fix things that we missed the first time around. And thank you to staff, Cheryl. That was a great report. Very helpful. I appreciate how you make things so that I can understand them when they're presented. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we go to Councilmember Sherman, I'll just say, a lot of the echo for, I've always appreciated your historical insight and information. It's not being from this community. I mean, this is 10th year, just knows I've now been here a decade or coming up on a decade in Cordova. But our history goes much deeper and runs farther back than that. So there's been times that I've been very grateful not to know the history. It allows me to act in kind of a more impartial way, but it's always been good even acting in that impartial way to come back to, well, this, you do what you want to do, but this is why it was that way. So I've appreciated that. Welcome, I mean, if we're talking council, welcome Lee Collins, claim your seat at the table for some very big shoes to fill, but we're grateful to have you. And on the other side of that, for Sonia and John, I really, really hope that you will choose to run again for either council or another position, as there are many that will be coming up. And revolving door on those. I appreciated the after action report. I have a special place in my heart for after action reports, being a veteran and sat through, hosted, ran all kinds. So, I mean, that's always for me was what are, we can talk about, we can do all the formalities, but what are the takeaways? At the end of the day, we took something away. Something was special to you that was different than someone else. So I really appreciate that insight and even element of a little bit of vulnerability in that, because there always is a little bit of vulnerability in that direction. If we're doing it right, there is truly a reflection on what we can do better. So thank you for that, and efforts in keeping our community safe. We mentioned some really beautiful things for grants that we have coming down, a pool, and there's probably a high school, there's public safety building, absolutely. All of that is almost without cause if we don't have the road infrastructure to get to these places. And really, we don't have our sewer infrastructure. I mean, really, these are all, and I'll just say candidly, the unsexy things that we really need to put our money in. Our water distribution infrastructure, we have different, those are things that no one wants to talk about, but we all need it in our community, and those are all the things that are very expensive, as they probably should be, because no one wants to really handle any of those things. So all that to be said, I absolutely agree with Councilmember Rainey. Let's say whatever we can do to partner with talented individuals in our community, especially when it comes to grant underwriting, and especially for some things that are less attractive, but really none of us want to think about not having or any kind of major failure in any of that infrastructure. Essential services. So with that, Councilmember, what would you like to say?
Have a list, the honor of Mr. Rogers.
Item number one.
Item number one. I don't have my glasses on. I wanted to really thank the city crews too, because I was trekking my way to church on Sunday and everybody was out working hard and really made a big difference. And there was actually, I'm not sure if it was coincidence or not, but there's this huge attendance at church. I didn't expect anybody because the roads were so not that great. Really excited about the after action report, really excited to hear about 911 potentially moving forward. That has been on my personal list for a really long time, and I really hope that we can finally kind of get that moving forward. That's been on the table since before I was been on council. Thanks, Cheryl, for the financials. And I'm just gonna point out, because this is the last chance I get to do it, that we budgeted a revenue potential of $50,000 for the Cordova Center, and it made almost $100,000 in 2025, which I was surprised at. So if you build it, it will come. And let's see, Sam and everybody, I was a city employee for almost 30 years, and I've worked on packets, I've been taught like other city managers how to present to council, and I think that the crew we have right now here at the city is doing the best packet work I have ever seen, including the fiscal notes, which we all learned from Don Moore. But they're so useful and they're so helpful and our meetings move much smoother. And that's why everybody should try and run for council, because meetings do not last till 10 or 11 at night like they used to. Because it's a very efficient staff and we have all the information we need. We just need to read it, which I do, and I apologize, Jeremiah, but I do, and this is my advice to everybody coming to council. When the packet comes out, read it quick. When the packet on Monday, read it again and make your questions and then reach out to staff. And then on Wednesday, go through right before you come and you'll be ready and prepared. And tonight, I think was the perfect example of what we need in this community is all these people here, all of our representatives here, we had community participation, and this has been an example for the last 3 or 4 months at city council. When people come, they point out things to us that we have missed, or that we neglected to look at everything from a community standpoint for some reason or another. And once it comes before people come and sit and comment, things change and things happen. And we start to understand the importance of working together as a community, having the community read the packets, read our budget, tell us what they think. And then we can form these MOUs, which I think are very important. And I remember as a city employee establishing a new MOU with the ski club, and we have come a long way with these advances by working and sitting down at the tables together, and it's not that painful to do. So, and then the rest is all kind of fun. I'm not gonna disappear. I'm going to channel Tina Tapley. I'm gonna come to the meetings. I'm not gonna talk about dog poop, but I will come and talk. Because I remember Tina Tapley every meeting.
You mispronounced heckle.
Heckle, you know, she had points, so did Barb Beetle, and I won't heckle. I am bequeathing my Robert's Rules of Orders to Lee, and I will leave it here dedicated to him. And I'm gonna finish on a history note, it is the 100th year anniversary of the Moose Lodge on May 5th. So I will be submitting a little history article to the newspaper. But that's pretty cool to have an organization, a social organization that has actually existed in our community for 100 years. And more power to them, so. That's it, I'm done.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the sparkler sometimes.
Can't do them inside. no.
Kristen has her hand up.
Yeah.
Clapping. Oh, I think she was clapping.
Yeah. I will, Mayor Smith, with that, anything you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say thanks to Kathy also to add to what everyone else is saying. You know, she served the city in a lot of different ways, and I just want to recognize that service. And you really lead by example, Kathy, and thank you so much for all of the heart and hard work and that you've given over the years. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that, when you have a community that you get to live in, and I've lived here now longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life. When you have a community that, gives you so much, and you don't ask for it. You know, if you have the opportunity to give back to that community, you should do it. Because I can't imagine living anywhere else in my life right now than here. And this year already is an example to me of why I live here. So I encourage everyone to give back.
Well said, for sure. Wise advice. Agree with. With that, looks like we have an executive session, is that correct? Track.
Yes.
So, is there a motion to move?
Oh, nice move.
Yes, Councilmember Sherman.
I move we go into executive session with the city manager regarding landscape negotiation with DMI and matter of the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the city.
Second. Do we need a recess, clear the room?
So just say with no objection, we'll go to a recess.
Okay, with no objection, we'll go into recess and
And then.
get to the executive section.
Susan, you don't need me, right?
No.
Okay. Good night.
Well said.
Thank you, Cheryl.